Los Angeles, where a new wave of protests has erupted in response to a series of aggressive ICE raids. These protests are not just about immigration, they're about power dynamics, workers' resistance to exploitation, and the right of dignity in working-class communities in one of America's largest cities.
You told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
Over the past few days, downtown LA has seen tear gas, rubber bullets, mass arrests, and the deployment of federal troops. What is happening on the ground, and why has it spread so fast? Let's break it down. The unrest began on the 6th of June when ICE conducted large-scale raids across Los Angeles, including the Fashion District, a Home Depot site, and a major clothing warehouse. Among those arrested were dozens of undocumented workers and David Huerta, a prominent union leader with SEIU. These operations were carried out with flashbangs and stun grenades, sparking immediate outrage. Videos from the scene show panicked workers being dragged out in zip ties as helicopters circle overhead. That same night, spontaneous protests erupted downtown. By morning, clashes had broken out between demonstrators and police, who responded with tear gas and rubber bullets. Over the next 48 hours, the protests spread. On June 7th, demonstrators took to the streets of Compton and Paramount, blocking intersections and setting fire to vehicles, including a Waymo driving car. Law enforcement escalated their response, deploying pepper balls and calling in reinforcements from the California Highway Patrol and LA County Sheriff's Department. On June 8th and 9th, things took a dramatic turn. Trump unconstitutionally invoked Title X, deploying 2,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines into LA without the consent of state officials. Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass denounced the move as unconstitutional and inflammatory. However, hypocritically, neither Newsom or Bass have attempted to curb LAPD's gross overuse of violence against peaceful protesters and journalists. By June 9th, downtown LA had been declared an unlawful assembly zone, and federal troops had taken control of key intersections. The protests reached a scale not seen since the George Floyd uprisings. ICE estimates thousands of protesters took part, but organizers say the number was much higher. Police and federal troops deployed overwhelming force. LAPD alone fired over 600 rubber bullets. At least 60 protesters were arrested, including 4 journalists who reported being shot with less lethal rounds while filming. Videos circulating online show both peaceful marchers and violent responses from the law enforcement, including civilians dragged across pavement, shoved into unmarked vans, and trampled by horses. As mentioned, the federal intervention has triggered a constitutional showdown. President Trump justified the troop deployment by labeling the protest as an insurrection and invoking national security. He praised the Marines as a quote-unquote restoring order. Governor Newsom filed an emergency lawsuit challenging the legality of the federal occupation, calling it an authoritarian overreach. Mayor Bass urged peaceful protest and reaffirmed the city's commitment to defending immigrant communities. Local officials accused the Trump administration of targeting Los Angeles specifically because of its sanctuary city status and strong labor organizing networks. From the very beginning, the protests in Los Angeles have had deep ties to labor organizing. The June 6th ICE raid didn't just target undocumented individuals, they specifically struck unionized workplaces in the Fashion District and at large-scale warehouses. Among those arrested, as mentioned, was David Huerta, who is a prominent organizer with the Service Employees International Union, known for leading campaigns for immigrant workers' rights across California. The response from the labor movement was swift. SEIU chapter, along with United Teachers Los Angeles, Teamsters Local 396, and members of Unite Here Local 11, joined the protest, calling the raids an attack on both worker protections and immigrant dignity. Union members helped coordinate mutual aid stations, legal defense resources, as well as street medics. Several unions also issued public statements condemning the federal crackdown. SEIU described the arrest as a deliberate assault on organized labor and immigrant communities, while UTLA warned of a new era of criminalizing working-class resistance. This movement recalls LA's long history of labor-led immigrant activism, from the Justice for Janitors campaigns in the 1990s to the 2006 Day Without an Immigrant marches. Once again, unions are not just backing the protest, they are the center of them. This crisis raises deep questions. Can a president deploy troops to a state without the governor's consent, and how far has the march to fascism gone in the US? The use of Title X violates the Constitution, especially if done to suppress political dissent rather than so-called insurrection. But even without the President of the National Guard, the LAPD alone has been overly violent in their response. The protests, however, show no sign of slowing down. Organizers from the United Farm Workers and Black Lives Matter have pledged continued action, while lawsuits against ICE and Department of Defense are moving forward. With the 2026 election approaching, LA has become a flashpoint for national debates on immigration, policing, and federal authority. As time passes, the actions of ICE's so-called officers increasingly resemble those of the brown shirts in Nazi Germany. That's our report from Los Angeles, a city once again at the heart of America's political storm. For a more in-depth understanding of the region, check out our episode on the historical role and influence of Latinos and indigenous nations to the Brown Belt, also known as the Southwest US. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an update from Solidarity Reports. Until next time, stay informed and stay in the struggle.